Warning, this video contains strong language that may be offensive to some viewers. Please be advised. Otherwise, please enjoy. Guntae calls out to Junwoo. He is happy that he came. Junwoo doesn't respond. His head is filled with thoughts about him. He glares at him, thinking, there he is, the man who did this to me, the dungeon cleaner, Guntae Park. Guntae, brimming in good spirits, walks up to Junwoo and asks him if he is alright. A typical middle-aged man in a cheap, worn-out uniform. He is just exactly how Junwoo remembers him. He looks at Guntae and thinks he doesn't look like someone who could kill. Guntae tells him it is good to see him, and he asks if he has eaten. He then slaps Junwoo on the back and tells the other employees that he told them that he would show up, and that he knew Junwoo would be a dependable person when he first met him. One of the employees brushes him off and says that Junwoo only showed up because he got caught trying to skip work. His name is Sang-hyuk Han, a member of the cleaning team 3 staff. Another employee remarks, dependable my ass, and he brings up how Junwoo didn't do any work last time because he said he couldn't handle it. The employee's name is Hee-jong Lim. The female employee, Soyeon Moon, asks their boss why he insisted on Junwoo to come in, because the 4 of them are good as is. Guntae tells them to stop whining, they need to buckle down and get ready to work. He asks Sang-hyuk how much time they have. He replies, 45 minutes. Guntae is shocked that they only have 45 minutes to complete the job. Sang-hyuk tells him that he can thank the wuss for putting them an hour behind schedule. Junwoo is thinking, sheesh, give me a break. Guntae gets in front of his team and tells them it is time to get going, otherwise, they will get another earful. The 3 employees reply, yes sir, while Junwoo just stands there. Guntae hands Junwoo some items and tells him that they should fit him just fine. Junwoo is looking at the items. He is puzzled. A respirator? As the other employees are getting ready, Guntae notices Junwoo and asks him if something is the matter and if there is a problem. Junwoo tells him no, that it is not necessarily a problem. He asks, what exactly is it that dungeon cleaners do? The Korea Association of Supernatural Ability Management, also known as the Association, is comprised of 5 departments. At the top of the organization is the upper management. Directly underneath are the command and control, hunter support, and strategy and operation teams. At the bottom, and not aligned in the organizational structure, is the dungeon cleaning team. The command and control teams monitor dungeon activity and gather data. The hunter support teams manufacture and supply gear and weapons for general dungeon conquests. The strategy and operation teams are comprised of hunters, and they fight and exterminate the dungeon monsters. And then, there is the dungeon cleaning team. Cleaning Team 3 is making their way inside the dungeon. Guntae asks Hee-jong how he is doing with disinfecting. Hee-jong tells him that he's on it and that the passage is wider than he expected. They might run out of disinfectant soon. Guntae tells him that it should be fine as long as he sprays it evenly across the rooms. He then tells Sang-hyuk to double-check on the location of the boss's room. He tells Soyeon to make sure to check the gas levels. They all reply, yes sir. He tells them that they need to hurry because today's boss is a big one, so dismantling it is going to take some time. Even though Junwoo had no clue what the cleaning team was all about, he wonders why they are pretending to be so busy. Meanwhile, the cleaning crew are hard at work. Guntae shouts at Junwoo, and asks where he is going because he is going to find himself in trouble heading off alone like that. Junwoo tells him that he thought they were heading to the boss's room. Guntae tells him that he needs to stick with the team because they are heading there now. Junwoo asks him what he is talking about because the boss's room is this way. Guntae is confused and Sang-hyuk wants to know what the hell is Junwoo on about. Soyeon tells Junwoo that if he isn't up for it, then he should just say so. They complain that they don't have time for this. They tell their boss that they should ignore him and just move on. Sang-hyuk walks up to Junwoo and tells him to look at the dungeon map from the control team and then tell him where the boss's room is. In the beginning, dungeons were mapped out by the hunters. since the map was provided by the control team, it should not have errors. However, Junwoo tells him that the map is incorrect, and he tosses the map and says it is this way. He makes a comment that he had overestimated the control team, that they can't even do their job right. Sang-hyuk is shocked and asks if Junwoo is high or something. Guntae asks Junwoo what makes him so certain. Junwoo tells him that there is no point in questioning him because the conquest was carried out by, and then Junwoo pauses. Guntae wants him to finish, it was carried out by. Junwoo wants them to forget it because no one is going to believe him anyway. He knows the location of the boss's room because he was the one who led the dungeon conquest in his previous life. He tells them to never mind and to lead the way. As the group walk towards their destination, Guntae asks Junwoo if he is sick. He tells him the time they have left before the dungeon closes. He asks him if he knows about it. Junwoo is realizing that is what it was. Dungeons typically close up 2 hours after the conquest. Hunters aren't concerned with time because they leave as soon as they complete their conquest. However, it is a different matter for the cleaning teams. It is imperative for them to begin their jobs immediately. Junwoo tells Guntae that he doesn't understand. Why clean a dungeon that will perish on its own anyway? Guntae laughs and says that it is nonsense. He tells him that a subjugated dungeon doesn't simply perish. Rather, it enters a resting phase, until a new monster takes over. Junwoo tells him that he is aware. Guntae asks him, if a dungeon opened up again, only to be filled with monster carcasses, how would he feel? Junwoo tells him that he wouldn't think much of it. Guntae tells him he is wrong and explains, hunters could lose their way during their conquest, and the gas that the carcasses release is fatal to humans, and the more carcasses there are, the higher the risk for hunters. Junwoo responds, oh, right. Guntae tells him that their goal is to make sure the hunters can focus solely on their conquests, and he tells him to take pride in what he does. He then says that, without them, there wouldn't be any hunters either, and he begins laughing. Junwoo is thinking that is bullshit. Guntae tells Junwoo that their main job is to clean up monster carcasses and the byproducts inside the dungeon, and also make sure there aren't any hunters who may have been left behind. He says that rescuing hunters could also be one of their responsibilities, although, it has never happened before. Junwoo is thinking, of course not, a cleaner rescuing a hunter? Never heard of that in my life. He begins to realize that the cleaning team haven't been bumming around after all. Sometime later, they are standing in front of an entrance. Sang-hyuk tells everyone that they have arrived. According to the map, this should be the boss's room. He opens the door and is in shock. The team is standing inside a room that is empty. Junwoo tells Sang-hyuk that he hates to say it, he told him so. Heejong hesitantly says that Junwoo was right all along. Sang-hyuk sees that they aren't in the right room but doesn't understand how it could be possible. They huddle around their boss and they ask him what they should do now. Junwoo tells them that there is nothing they can do here, so they should just call it a day, but they ignore him. Guntae asks how much time they have left. Sang-hyuk replies, 22 minutes. Guntae says that it should be enough and he asks them what they think. They all tell him that it is worth a shot and that they should get moving. Junwoo shouts at them to wait, and he asks what they mean by, that is enough time. Guntae tells him that what he means is, it is enough time to get working. They at least need to finish what they started. Junwoo is completely baffled. He tells him that he just said they only have 22 minutes left, and what if the dungeon closes up on them? Once it closes, the earliest it will reopen is 1 week, and worst case scenario, it could be a year. Guntae is not moved. He tells Junwoo that they could just chill inside then, that it is no big deal. Junwoo is thinking about how being trapped inside a dungeon for an entire year, basically means death. He tells them that they have lost their minds and questions them that they would risk their lives just over some cleaning job. Guntae laughs and asks Junwoo to tell him something he doesn't already know. They begin heading out and Sang-hyuk tells Junwoo he is free to leave if he wants, and that he never expected much from him anyway. Sang-hyuk and Heejun continue to make comments about Junwoo. Never mind him, it's probably his first time in a dungeon anyway. He probably thinks of this as a petty job. Before Soyeon leaves the room, she stops and gives Junwoo a look of disappointment. Junwoo is standing alone and is thinking about how he has never once failed a conquest in the 15 years of his hunting career. He was the first to reach SSS rank worldwide and the first to win the title as number 1. There is absolutely no one who could look down on his dungeon career. But now, he is being looked down in a dungeon by mere low-life cleaners. He laughs. Out of nowhere, he tells the team that there is a small path down the room. Sang-hyuk calls him a dumbass and says he is making things up again. Junwoo cuts him off and tells him, in a scary tone, to shut his goddamn mouth and to listen to him. He tells them that the boss's room is 500 meters away from here. If they take the shortcut, they might make it there in 8 minutes, maybe in 5 minutes if they run. He then tells them that, this time he is leading, and that if they have any complaints, then they are free to leave. The crew is confused and they tell Junwoo to wait. Moments later, the team is running down a path with Junwoo in front. They eventually arrive at an entrance, and they follow Junwoo inside. They are completely astonished at what they find lying in front of them. The Foxtrot Centipede, a boss monster that stretches over 10 meters in length, about 33 feet. Sang-hyuk walks up to Junwoo and tells him that he was right, that this is the boss's room. Junwoo is looking around the room. He judges that it must have been a fierce battle, and that at least 5 or 6 lives must have been lost. He is surprised to see that they were able to hit the vital spot. Sang-hyuk clears his throat and says that there is no time to waste, they need to begin dismantling. Junwoo stretches out his arm to stop him. Sang-hyuk is confused and asks him what he thinks he is doing. He asks him if he is trying to get back at him, and suddenly, the boss monster moves. They see it is still alive, but they can't believe it, it surely should have been defeated. Junwoo is concerned. They have a problem,